Everyone's talking about artificial intelligence. Everyone's talking about AI. It's the buzzword. We're trying to implement it. We're trying to use it. We know it's going to be really special, but at least for me right now, all I'm doing is kind of asking it questions, getting varied answers. Sometimes the answers are wrong. Can I really trust this thing? Other times I'm amazed at how much work it can do in a short period of time and really help me. And so I haven't, in full transparency, given a ton of thought to AI. I kind of have taken the opinion that, look, it's clunky to use, it's hard to use. It's sort of like when the internet first came along, or cell phones where, it works in your car like a car phone or a bag phone, or the internet, you got to be sitting at home, plugged into slow dial-up, and you can surf a few websites and check email, but it's not really changing my life. When we fast forward now, it's like we use the internet and cell phones and email and chats and Zoom calls and everything for a whole lot of our life. And it's really changed. A lot of that driven by, it's a lot easier for the average person to use today. So I was listening to this podcast. It was Elon Musk, Peter Diamandis, and Dave Blunden. It was called Moonshots. It came out maybe 2 weeks ago. If you want to check it out, it's all over YouTube. And I wouldn't say it was a great podcast, mostly because the guests kept interrupting Elon Musk. I just wanted him to keep on talking, and he's the smartest dude in the room, obviously. But I got some nuggets out of that thing, and some things really changed my mind about the way I'm thinking about AI, the future of that. Some of it was honestly kind of scary. Some of it was exciting. And I'm starting to position myself to think, how can I position myself to win here? Like, change is going to happen. It's inevitable. There's going to be upheaval. You think about the industry of the horse and carriage. There was a whole business around all of that and all the supporting businesses of that. Think about this. There were people that were making these buggies and wagons. There were people that were repairing the wheels. There were people that were breeding and getting horses, horse farms. They were feeding the horses, taking care of them, horse blankets, bridles, saddles, buggy whips, anything you can think, clothing, dusters, etc. All this stuff was centered around that. And over the course of about 20 years, that got completely decimated. And so if you were the guy that was, raising the horses or making the buggy whips, etc., you were in trouble unless you pivoted. If you look at the other side of the coin, the bright side of the coin, think about all the industry that the automobile created, right? The invention of the automobile. I mean, we've got roads, people building roads and asphalt materials. You got people providing steel and car components. You've got the advent of race car driving and the entertainment aspect of that. You've got people that are repairing these vehicles when they break down. You've got rubber, Akron, the entire city of Akron and Canton, making rubber and tires, and Goodyear and BF Goodrich and all these supporting industries that rose out of the invention of the car. And over the whole, America grew. The GDP grew, the production grew, and it was a good thing long term. But if you were the guy that was stuck and saying, no, cars are stupid, they're never going to take off, this isn't going to work, I'm just going to keep on making these buggies, well, your business dried up because you were in a declining market. I was listening to another little podcast, whatever, and the guy was a consultant for a sales dude, and he was selling newspaper ads. And no matter what the guy did, he couldn't increase. And it was because he was in a declining market. Every year, less and less newspapers get sold. More and more goes to digital media. And the people that are clinging to that and that medium, they're going to have a hard go of it. And eventually, it will probably be 100% gone. I think things take longer than we think for this sort of thing to happen. But it is good to be aware of that. Am I in an industry that's going to be massively disrupted? So back to the podcast. One of the first bold claims that Elon Musk said was, college will become irrelevant. College will become just a social experiment. If you want to go to college for the social aspects of that, relationships, friendships, etc., fine. But to learn a specialized skill, there's not going to be a need. And now these are his claims, not mine, but I'm just telling you what he said. And so to me, it's like, all right, well, there's a lot of industry based around universities. There's a lot of real estate around universities. There's a lot of money in the education and the perpetuation of the system that's been around for 100 years plus of you got to go to college. And when I was a kid, it was still a pretty strong stigma, like that you had to go to college. You needed to, grow up, get good grades in high school, and go to college if you wanted to be successful. And we've seen that stigma fade. I've seen it really fade just in the last 10 years a lot, where it's like people are looking at this and thinking, is it really a good idea to go $100,000, $200,000 into debt to learn general knowledge? Is it a good idea to take 4 years off of my life that I could be earning, creating, building a tangible skill that I could utilize in my career to go learn sociology and psychology and English and whatever? Like I don't know, but the stigma around this is what you have to do. And if you don't do this, you are socially less than people that do. I think that gap is narrowing. I wouldn't say it's equal quite yet, but I think it will become completely irrelevant, could become completely irrelevant. Maybe not today, but fast forward 20 years from now, who knows? Another claim that he made was talking about the replacement of human beings in getting stuff done. He says that AI is coming for the white collar jobs first, right? Anything that can be done on a computer, on a spreadsheet, over the phone, that can be replaced by AI first. So you're talking, I don't know, the first thing that comes to my mind is accountants, bookkeepers, attorneys, people that typically deal with a lot of data, information, paper, even softwares, right? If you are paying for, let's say Appfolio, right? I'm going to stay in the real estate world. Appfolio is a property management software, and it's fairly expensive. It's like $1.50 to $2 per unit for every unit that's in their system, and you pay that every month, right? So if you have 100 units, it's $200 a month. If you have 1,000 units, it's $2,000 a month. If you have 10,000 units, it's $20,000 to $30,000 a month, right? So it's not a cheap software, but it's so entrenched because your leases are there, your work orders are there, they pay their rent through that, on and on and on. But what's to say in the next, couple of years, you can just ask ChatGPT, hey, write me an Appfolio software, look at Appfolio, look at what it does, copy it, and create my own in-house version of Appfolio. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to save $5,000 a month and not pay that. A large company that has a large portfolio, they're going to do that versus paying $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month. If you're paying $200 a month, you might say, well, let me just stay with Appfolio. But if it makes sense and you can literally create that program that took them decades of work to build, and you can create it in 5 minutes on ChatGPT, why would you not do that? And so to stick your head in the sand and say, oh no, we don't want to do that because people are going to lose their jobs and maybe I'll lose my job and I feel threatened, so I don't want this to come true, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what makes sense financially, what is the most efficient, what is the best product, that's going to win. All right, so he talks about white collar jobs. Then he gets really scary because he talks about the Optimus, humanoid robot. Okay, so I'm sure you've heard of it, but Optimus is a robot that, looks sort of like a human being, and it can walk around, it can kind of talk to you, it can perform a few simple tasks, like it can, move a box or whatever, but it's honestly not that impressive. It's impressive that it's a robot and it can move around, but it is light years away from the capabilities of a human being. But will it be forever, right? And that was his proponent. He says that within 3 to 4 years, caveat, his timelines seem to be always wrong. His timelines on Tesla and autonomous vehicles and all that stuff seemed like it took way longer than what he had proposed. But let's just say it's not 3 to 4 years. Let's just say maybe it's 7, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. He's saying artificial intelligence is growing at an exponential rate, right? Where if it grows 10x over the next 12 months, it's growing 100x over the next 12 months. It's growing 1,000x over the next 12 months. And it's continuing to just spike in its capabilities, its knowledge base, et cetera, et cetera. And he thinks that it will eventually outperform all human being intelligence on Earth collectively, right? So you're talking about an entity that is smarter than any human being that's ever existed or will exist. And not only that person, the collective of all the smartest people in the world, right? So that is, we're not there yet, but it's moving that way. And he says it's just a matter of time and eventuality that we will get there. And so you power that brain of the robot with this intelligence. And he says, now we're starting to be able to move atoms, to move matter. And we're transitioning from just white collar jobs, anything that's got to be constricted by a computer, to anything, literally anything. And his first example was the medical field. His proposal was that within 3 to 4 years, there will be robots that can perform surgeries at scale better than any surgeon alive on Earth today, right? So you're talking about a huge industry that could be disrupted. Now, I don't think that's 4 years away. This is what he said. But if you think about that, a brain surgeon, right, takes him 10 to 12 to maybe longer years to train on how to do that, whereas this robot can learn that in maybe an hour. Take all the collective knowledge that this guy's ever had, learn that within an hour. Or even if it takes a week or 2 weeks or even a year, it's still a much shorter timeline. And right, and once that program is there, it can be replicated and replicated. It can be replicated thousands and thousands and thousands of times. And so now, if you need an open heart surgery that used to cost $500,000, it now costs $5,000, right? Because there's 10,000 robots that can perform this exact surgery. And so the small podunk hospital in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, has a world-class brain surgeon and a world-class heart surgeon and a world-class, transplant and burn victim and any other medical thing you can think of. They've got a robot or multiple robots that can train and do all of that. And so this creates a way, way better level and service of healthcare. It obviously reduces the cost. This is a robot that never gets tired, never gets fatigued. You don't have to pay it. You don't have to pay it workers' comp. It doesn't ever get injured. And so when you start thinking about that just in the medical field, it got me thinking back to apartments. Imagine a day where you have an apartment complex that goes vacant, or an apartment unit that goes vacant, and you just tell this robot, hey, go trash out the unit, clean it out, repaint it, stage it for the next tenant. You know what? Go ahead and put up the ad, run it out on our social channels, blast it out to our email database. If anybody comes in, I want you to show the unit for me, open it up, explain the features of the complex because you know all of that. And if they want to sign a lease, you can email it right over to them. They can sign it and give them a move-in date, give them the keys. The robot can hand them the keys. Wham! All of that integrated into one entity. I thought about that, and then I thought even further. And this is where Elon Musk was going with the costs of goods and the output of humanity just rising exponentially. Imagine I go out to my apartment complex and I think, man, my shingles are looking kind of rough. Like they're wavy, and I go out and I get a bid from a roofer, and it's $100,000, to replace this roof. And I tell my robot, you know what? Give me a takeoff and bid out the material to 4 different suppliers. Like, let's see what this material costs. He goes out, bids it out. Best price he gets is about 25 grand. I say, okay, schedule it. Get the delivery. What tools do you need? Well, I'm going to need a ladder. I'm going to need an air compressor. I'm going to need a nail gun, hoses, whatever. All right, go ahead and order that on Amazon. Get it shipped to the apartment complex. Let's get that going. And go ahead and replace the roof for me. And so maybe for now, for $25,000 in materials and $2,000 or $3,000 in tools, this robot can now replace that roof. And not only that, he's got the tools that he can replace the next roof and the next roof and the next roof. And I can replace all of my 4 buildings for $80,000 versus one roof for $100,000. Now you start looking at, you can renovate anything you want or have for the cost of materials alone. I think about the process I'm going through with entitling my land for my flex warehouse development. I have to hire all these specialists, right? I got to hire a surveyor. because he knows how to survey stuff. I got to hire a geotechnical analyst to go out there and core holes and test the soil, give me a report on that. I've got to hire a civil engineer to design the drainage fields and all this stuff to maximize the square footage I can put on that and also pass all the laws and codes and stuff. I've got to submit this stuff to the county, and it's a 6 to 8 month process just to get permission to build something on the land, okay? What if a robot had all those skills, right? Had all that knowledge? Like there's a surveyor program that I can buy for $100 and now it's a surveyor. It knows how to do that. There's a civil engineering program that I can download to the Optimus, and he can do that. And he can actually maybe do better than the human being, right? Because when I'm looking at the layout that the guy put out, I said, hey, can we adjust these buildings here? Is my drive aisle wide enough here? Can I add buildings here? And he's like, oh yeah, we can switch that around. So his first pass, it wasn't even perfect. And this is a guy that's an expert in the field, and he's great. I'm not knocking him, but I know he didn't run 10,000 simulations of the best layout of that land and pick the absolute highest yield. Right? He didn't do that. He can't do that. He doesn't have the mental capacity to do that, neither do I. No human being does. But artificial intelligence does. And so theoretically, I could buy a raw piece of dirt, task my Optimus to say, hey, I want to build an apartment complex on this. I want to build a warehouse on this. Get it done. And the Optimus is meeting with the county, setting up Zoom meetings, running through all this stuff, fulfilling their requirements, and coming to me with a land disturbance permit 6 months later. And instead of me spending $50,000, $60,000 in consultants and fees and etc., I can just do it for the cost of, hey, this is what it costs to buy the permit from the county. And so we talk about becoming more and more and more efficient and getting more and more stuff done. Then I got scared. And maybe you're thinking this right now. What's going to be left? What's going to be left for the human beings to do? And I think that at first, AI is not going to be able to do all that, right? It's like you're not, if you are, for example, the civil engineer consultant that's helping me get this permit, his robot and his AI is not going to be that good at first, right? But if he starts implementing that business and he can just run the 10,000 simulations, he can show me the best model and he can do that fast, well, that's valuable to him. And so since he's integrated that into his business already, he's got a leg up on all of his competitors. And so I think it's going to start making companies cheaper, faster, more efficient, and better out the versus just putting them out of business. Because it's going to be a long time before I can just task a robot with successfully getting me a land disturbance permit, or successfully renovating an apartment complex, or building me a custom home from scratch on a piece of dirt. Right? We're a long ways from that. And the people that embrace it and start to integrate it and use it, I think they're the ones that are going to win. And so it was kind of a wake-up call listening to this, because I'm recognizing I'm not integrating AI. And if I'm not, my competitors probably are, right? Because if my competitor has lower overhead costs than I do, right, then they're improving their NOI. If they're using systems and they have less, property management fees and employees and et cetera, and they can get the same thing done or maybe more done, they can charge less rent and they can attract a tenant before I do, because I have to charge more to make the same amount of money as they're making. And so it becomes an equalizer where I have to adapt or I have to die. Whereas if I can be the leader and I'm, capitalizing on this competitive advantage and my competitors aren't, I maybe can keep my rents high and now I'm just arbitraging more NOI there, right? I'm increasing my profits until the rest of the market catches up with me. It also got me thinking about, what are things that AI can't change? That they can't disrupt, at least not yet. And this is the list that I came up with. Maybe you could think of more, but I came up with tobacco. Human beings still gonna want to smoke cigarettes, use dip. I came up with alcohol. Human beings still gonna want to drink. I came up with gambling. People still gonna want to go to casinos. Now maybe the casino's got a robot dealer versus a human, but people still want to go to that casino. I came up with entertainment. People still going to want to watch movies, going to want to watch TV shows. They're going to want to go to plays. They're going to want to go to symphonies, entertainment. I came up with sports, which is kind of a form of entertainment. I don't think people are going to want to watch robots playing football and soccer. I think they're going to want to see human beings and athleticism on talent. It's like, oh wow, this robot can throw the football 1,000 yards. Like, I don't care. I want to see, it's Tom Brady out there. Food, human beings still got to eat food. I think they're still going to enjoy going out to eat, going out to restaurants. Housing and land. Housing, I think housing could become more valuable. Here's why. If you're in a place where, let's say you have a rundown place, like a rundown apartment complex or a rundown house or whatever, but it's in a good location. It's where other human beings are. There's other industry going on there. There's fun restaurants. There's fun venues. You can renovate that cheaper now. You can fix that place up cheaper now, but you have the land. The land cannot be replaced. The land, they can't make more of the land. AI can't make more of the land. Robots can't make more of the land. Now, you could say robots could go mine land and put it in the ocean and make more dirt, but that's still the same dirt. It came from somebody else's land. And so I think we are pretty well insulated against AI with owning assets such as land and housing. But I think it's one of the few industries that's not going to be massively disrupted. It's still going to be disrupted because the costs are going to have to change, right? If everyone's running, if their management fee was 10% and now their management fee is nothing because they have a robot managing it or AI, well, their rents can come down 10% and everyone's rents are going to come down 10%. If their repairs and maintenance costs, which are typically 10 to 15% of your gross income, well, those may go down to 6 or 7% because now you're only buying materials. Imagine that. You have an HVAC system that goes bad. All you got to do is buy the unit. The robot can install it for you. That's huge. That's probably at least 50% of the cost, if not more. And so thinking about this, as we're dawning on this new technology, I think you should start to consider, do I own land? Do I own property? Do I own housing? People still have to have a place to live. People still have to have, somewhere to exist. And they're not making any more land. They can make more housing, but they can't make the more dirt underneath it. And so I think land can become super valuable. And I think people will pay more for land because the costs to build will come significantly down. And we're talking, probably at least 10 years out in the future, maybe even further. But still, it's something to start positioning yourself with. So something that I'm tangibly doing is working on making AI better. I was talking to a friend of mine who is very involved in this space, and he says that one of the reasons why people think AI sucks or it doesn't give the answers it would give or it doesn't come to the assumptions that they would come to or it doesn't do it in their style is because the AI doesn't have the data that it needs. And so what he's done is he's using one system, and it's one of the big ones, and he's bought the top of the line version. He's not using the free, they cut you off after 20 minutes, you can't use it anymore. And he's inputting data and he's having conversations with the AI and he's uploading things that have to do with his business and files and his websites and his marketing and uploading recordings of calls and allowing this AI to fully understand who he is, how he thinks, how he talks, his tonality, what his mission is, what he's trying to accomplish in business. And then it's able to help him solve problems. He said one of the biggest benefits of this is it's helping him walk and talk through problems where he's giving it all the information he has. He's telling it what is the problem that he's stuck with. And the conversation AI is helping him process through and understand insights that are there. He just wasn't smart enough or did not occur to him to think of. And a lot of times those are the actual solutions that he's looking for. And so we think about underwriting, right? So if I throw an underwriting file into AI, say like, here's an offering memorandum from a broker, and here's what I want to try to do to analyze if this is a good deal to buy and what I should pay and how much cash flow it's going to have and all that. that breaks down really quickly, right? The PDF, one, it may have bad information from the broker. Two, it may not be able to read the PDF. Three, it may make assumptions that you wouldn't make. Four, it may not use the correct, expense ratios, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many ways that the AI could get off track there. And so me thinking, okay, well then just don't use it. It's not good enough yet, so don't use it. Whereas my friend says, no, the technology is actually here. It just doesn't have enough data on how you think. So I started to think, like, what if I uploaded 100 underwriting files that I had done? What if it listened to hours and hours of deal room calls of me explaining like how I underwrite things? What if I spent a few hours talking through like what I look for and like the price per door, like rent per month metric, the acid tests that I use, the NOI I'm looking at, where I typically see expense ratios, falling. And I started to train this AI as to, this is how Jennings Smith thinks. This is how Jennings Smith looks at deals. Now take what I say and what I know and go out to the rest of the world, crawl and search the web for other people's underwriting models and how they're looking at things and where they see value. What am I missing? What do I not know? Where am I blind? And build me the best underwriting model possible with today's, data that we have, right? And that's where I think there can be a real valuable thing, because if I got to a point where I was like, I could just throw a deal in this thing and it could underwrite it in 5 minutes, how many more offers could I make? How many more deals could I uncover? My competitors aren't using this. These guys are 50, 60, 70 years old. They're not even trying to do this. They're still doing it on the back of a napkin and taking hours and hours, and they're not making the amount of offers that I'm making. We think about, investor databases and like looking at, get this, what if you said, hey, search all my competitors, everyone that's raising capital, look at their trends, what's working, what's not working. Listen to me on, 25 different calls I've had with investors, understand my tonality, help me improve. Like, what do I need to say? What do I need to do? Help me create ad copy, help me to run ads to attract more accredited investors, and then give me a script to walk them through this. And eventually, I think the AI will be able to talk to an investor and maybe not even them know the difference of who they're talking to. We're not there yet, but we will get there. And that's the thing is, if you're not in the game and you're not already starting to work on and capitalize this, you're not going to be too late. I mean, we're really early, but you're going to miss out on a lot of arbitrage that can happen, because eventually the playing field will get re-leveled again. It's actually probably going to go down where everything is way more cost effective. But if you're not using these tools, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. So that's what I'm working on right now. That's what I'm thinking about, taking this more seriously. Because if Elon Musk's timelines are right, within 5 to 10 years, this world is going to look very, very different. And I want to be on the cutting edge of how do I capitalize on this opportunity. There are cycles that happen. The tech and .com boom, the real estate bust of 2008 and 10, and the people that capitalized on that, the cell phones, the autonomous cars, we're living in that right now. And now we've got the advent of AI and potentially Optimus or autonomous robots. And what is that going to look like? How can I position myself there? So I'd love to get your feedback on that, get your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen? Is this a doomsday thing for the US, or is this going to just skyrocket our productivity and everyone's going to have all the money and stuff that they could ever want? All right, guys, until next time, unlock your life. Peace.